Welcome back to the Karvin Katers Cooking Channel. Today we have a shrimp Caesar salad with kale. And as always, we have our ingredients laid out for you guys, and you can find that in the description box. So we're going to start off by making our Caesar dressing. We're going to start off with egg yolks and Dijion Mustard. These are both stabilizers for our emulsion. We're going to add red wine vinegar, and we're going to grate in some garlic. We're also going to add in some grated Parmesan, and we're going to add anchovies. The anchovies are optional. You guys don't have to use that, but classically it does have anchovies. The brininess, if that's a word, I know it's a word. The brininess is and the saltiness of this fish also helps with the dressing. It gives it that tang that you're looking for. Umami is the word we're looking for. Now you guys can do this in a blender. I'm just doing this by hand just to show you guys how it's done. Also, for this small amount, I didn't need to pull out that whole blender. Now, as you guys can see, I decided to just make fish puree with my hands. If you guys mind chunks and you want the flavor but want this to disappear, then the blender is going to obviously be necessary. You can try to chop it up with your knife, but you'll just end up with the same amount of fish paste that I did. Now, as you see here, I'm breaking it up just so that we get an even spread. And you guys are going to want to do that as well. Again, simply put it in the blender if this is too much for you. And here comes the key part to making any emulsion. We're going to add in our oil. You want to add this nice and slow and controlled while you're whisking. You want to do this at the same time, and you want to make sure that you're not over adding because this sauce will break. What breaking means basically is that you have your particles separate and your oil's suspended, basically a suspension. All the scientific talk, right? So in another video I can show you guys what happens when you do break a sauce and how to fix that. But for right now, look at those seasoned hands. I did not break it. As for the color in the dressing, obviously since this is handmade and natural, it's not as white. Now, if you were to whip this up in the blender, the aeration of the oil will cause it to turn white. And for the store-bought bottles, the same thing happens, but they also add egg whites occasionally just to change the color. But this is what a natural dressing would look like. And as always, you guys want to season and taste and season. Over here, I'm tasting it. I'm going to give it a pinch of sugar. This just helps balance out the flavors and the acidity without having to add oil, which would, if I overdo it, it can also break my sauce. It's all a give and take here. And on to the greens. So I'm going to grab the kale and I'm going to grab it by the stem and just pull straight up. This is, in the restaurant, you could do cases at a time, and this is just what you do all day. You want to pick out any leaves that are dying on you. You don't necessarily have to remove the yellow ones. Yellow doesn't necessarily mean bad. That can just be the way that it was grown and how it was harvested and whatnot. But as long as they're completely edible, you have no problem. As for the stems, if you guys really want to eat them for all that extra fiber, what you can do is just slice them really, really thin. Me personally, I only eat those when they're sauteed or really cooked down, using it instead of collard greens, you use kale. You could do that as well. But for this purposes, I'm not using the stems. Now, as for the washing process, as always, these were pretty clean. What you want to do is put them in cold water, give them a nice dunk, remove them, then throw out that water, refill it again, and then give it another wash. Minimum 3 times is what you would do in the restaurant industry. You want to make sure that nobody is getting any dirt or any little bugs. Remember that these things grow in the ground, so of course our little friends can make it on there. And after you've thoroughly rinsed and washed, what you guys can do is put this in a salad spinner if you have one. If not, what you want to do is make sure you put it in a colander, leave it suspended for a little bit, and then you can have a clean towel and run through that. But if you do have one of these, have fun just pumping that out. And the main reason for drying our greens is the first step is, one, if you're dressing your salad, you want it to be dry because you want the dressing to actually coat your salad, so you want it to stick. If you had water, what ends up is that your dressing just slides off and it ends up at the bottom of your bowl and you just end up with very sad greens. The second part would be that you can also store these much better. So now what I'm doing is I'm tearing these into bite-sized pieces. You don't even have to use your knife for this. I love kale just because it's very sturdy as compared to, you know, one of your green leaf lettuces or your red leaf or your romaine. To a certain degree, you would have to run your knife through that as opposed to just tearing them. Those are very sensitive and they leak water. This kale, you can just be as brutal as possible. Over here, we're going to start off with our croutons. We're going to just take, this is what I believe is a Portuguese roll. You can get them in the supermarket, even at your deli, or Kaiser Roll. You can get one of those as well. If you don't have Italian bread, these work fine. So we're just going to cut them down. I like nice big croutons, and that's why I'm using that size. Toss them in a little bit of oil, salt, pepper. I'm going to use the ends of those garlic that you saw I reserved from our grating earlier. And then we just pop them in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes at 350. If you have a broiler, that works too. You just want to keep your eye on them. So while our croutons are baking, we're going to season our shrimp. It's real basic. It's just salt, pepper, and garlic. You guys can have fun with this at this point. For me, a salad, you know, we're here to eat a Caesar salad. We're not here to eat no Cajun Caesar salad. That's a whole different setup where we don't need to overcomplicate things. Just let the flavor of the shrimp sing. We're going to start off by searing these. And over here, this is medium-high heat. You just want to have enough oil to coat the bottom of the pan, and you don't want to overcrowd it. Otherwise, your shrimp won't get any color, and that's not good eats. Now, as you can see, our shrimp has a beautiful crust in it due to the salt and the pepper that we added to it. And this is what we're looking for. If we would have added too many shrimp to the pan, then it would have just steamed and we wouldn't get any of this color. Remember, color equals flavor, height equals flavor. And now that we have everything ready to go, we're ready to begin plating our salad. We're going to start off by dressing our greens, adding about 3 tablespoons of our dressing, and we're going to massage our kale. We can also add cheese at this point as well, as I did there, but we want to make sure that we massage our kale. The reason that this happens is, one, we break it down so it's easier for us to digest, and not only that, the flavor goes into it and it loses a little bit of the bitterness that kale can have. You notice I didn't add any salt and pepper to this just because I seasoned my dressing well enough. Now, normally you would want to season your greens as well, but again, that's all up to you. We're going to arrange our shrimp over here in a nice little direction. A couple more pieces of cheese because the majority of it stayed in the bowl anyways. And then we're going to add another layer of kale because remember, height equals flavor. And again, we'll rearrange them with our croutons and then add another shrimp just so you can see everything that's in your beautiful salad. And now it's ready to eat. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you guys like to interact with me more and see more content, you can follow me on Instagram or hit the comment box. Thank you.